All right, here we go, Joe Parisi. How are you, sir?
I'm good.
That's excellent.
Are we recording?
We are recording.
Oh, well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, yeah. I just
Appreciate it.
uh I just started it off. Um I've been listening to your podcast and you have some interesting guests.
Yeah. It's like we kind of said before we started, it's totally a hobby thing that I got into, basically because I missed radio work.
Yeah.
I come from a background in radio, and I missed doing that stuff. And I'm just kind of a pop culture junkie.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that if I'm watching a movie or a TV show, I've got my phone out and I'm on IMDb. I need to find out who are these people? What
Yeah.
else have they been in? Where did they film this movie? I want to find out all the info.
Yeah.
And as technology just kind of got up to speed to where for a couple $100 you can have all the equipment you need to
Yeah.
put your own show out there. I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this. I've got the software came on my computer. All I need is a microphone and I'm off and running. So
Yeah. Yeah. Low barrier to entry when
for
it comes to
sure.
podcasting. How long have you had your podcast?
Oh, about 3.5 years. I'm trying to think. The first couple of episodes, if you go back and listen to it, it was clear that I wasn't quite sure what the show was going to be yet.
Yeah.
I was finding just kind of, it's called the Odd Podcast with Joe Parisi. And I was just looking for odd, quote unquote, interesting people and just wanted to learn more about their lives. Everything from famous graffiti artists, street performers, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it kind of just took this natural progression and ended up with a pop culture focus. I started tracking down people who, I think one of the first pop culture ones I ever did was I tracked down one of the guys from the original cast of American Gladiators,
Oh, nice.
Malibu.
I don't know who that one is.
Malibu, long blonde haired guy. He was great. He was season one American Gladiator
I bet if I saw him, I'd recognize him.
back in, yeah, like the 80s, late 80s, I guess. It was like 88 or 89. And it was just so cool. And I got like that peek behind the curtain to
Uh-huh.
find out what it was like, how he got the job on the show, what it was like working on the show. I mean, he even told me like, yeah, they were paying me $850 a day.
Oh,
And
for real?
I think I shot for 12 days. So he's like, that's the only money I ever saw out of that.
Huh.
And just little things like that. I was like, wow, that is interesting. Like here you would think that, oh, these people are loaded. Everybody knows who they are.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like, no, he made like 8 grand.
yeah, I guess, well, because they get paid like the one-time fee,
Right.
and then the exposure's constant.
Right.
So in your mind, you're thinking they're just probably racking up the whole time.
Exactly. But how it depends on how the deal has been worked out. But for a lot of those people, yeah, it was just a one-time flat fee, and
Yeah.
that's it. The exposure hasn't helped out his
Nah.
bank account any, which
Yeah.
is it's interesting, and I just
Yeah.
liked learning about those
Right.
little nooks and crannies of the industry, and so I just started reaching out to more people from old movies and TV
Yeah.
shows and stuff, and
Yeah. So has I imagine Instagram, Twitter, these things, is that how you're finding these people, or how do you go about it?
usually yes. If it's somebody that I'm going to have to work through a agent or a publicist or a manager,
Yeah.
I have found that I'm probably not going to end up getting that person. They hear podcast, and if your name's not Mark Maron or Chris Hardwick or
Like Joe Rogan,
Joe Rogan,
Tim
Tim Ferriss,
Ferriss.
yeah, if they
Yeah.
have not heard of you and they see the word podcast, you're probably just not going to get a reply.
Right.
At least for the entertainment industry, music industry.
Yeah.
With Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you're able to directly reach out to these people. Some of
Mhm.
them are on Facebook, like a lot of us on our phones, like all day, and they're seeing the message.
I mean, they're people too.
Yeah,
They,
exactly,
they,
and
get-
they're
they get sucked into the addictiveness
exactly,
of the
yeah.
device.
So they're seeing the message you sent within 5 minutes of you sending it, and
Yeah.
they can just, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Sometimes I'll find that if it's an actor, they have their own website,
Mhm.
and same thing, you can just kind of directly reach out to them.
Shoot them an email that way.
Yeah, and the people that I typically reach out to, I'm not reaching out to Michael J. Fox to talk about Teen Wolf. I'm reaching out to the guy who played Chubby
Right.
on Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the character actors that the world doesn't know everything about already.
Yeah, no, I noticed that. The people that you're picking out is just like I was reading over. It's on my list to listen to next. The Ghostbusters one.
Yeah.
Like you had the guy who like created the marshmallow
He was in-
character, and then he
yeah.
was in the suit,
Mhm.
and you had the kid who was the student doing
the girl.
Was it a girl?
It was the girl.
Yeah, they were doing the testing, right? The
The
psychic
ESP
testing.
testing. I
Yeah.
had the guy that was inside the Slimer suit who also built that.
Yeah. Like
Yeah,
I would have never thought to like reach out to those people to like interview.
exactly. And I mean, there's obviously these various levels of celebrity, and some of those people, like the guys that was in the marshmallow suit, he's not an actor. He's an effects guy
Uh-huh.
who, as I learned, it's like when you're given the task to build one of those suits, it's just kind of assumed that you're going to build it to your own body because you need to make sure the thing works before you show up on filming day with it.
Yeah.
So they just let you be the one in it. Otherwise, that's then another person
Yeah.
that they have to pay.
Does he get paid extra for that?
I don't remember if he did or not, if I even asked him, but
Yeah.
I would think probably not.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
With the Screen Actors Guild, there's actually probably a chance that he did. He probably got
Yeah.
to double dip there.
I would imagine that you'd get some sort of like at least credit or something, as opposed to like you're the fabricator and the actor.
Right. I'm not sure. I'm not
Huh.
sure how the pay worked out, but those are the kinds of things that
Yeah.
that I like to dig into. Yeah.
Yeah. So you just decided to kind of just dive down this hobby path as far as doing podcasting and like seeking out these people. You said post radio career, right? So
Yeah.
let's go back a little bit.
Sure.
Like help me understand your background a little bit. I obviously what I could see on like Facebook or whatnot. I know
Right.
was it marketing or communications was your degree?
Media communications.
Media communications. Okay. Yeah, so let's start there. Just take me through it a
Go
little
way
bit, Joe.
back, yeah. So after high school, I went to Merrimack, St. Louis Community College,
Okay.
Merrimack, and figured out pretty early on that I wanted to try and do something in the communications field because basically those classes were a lot more easy for me. They just came natural to me. I was not a math or a science guy. I didn't have any interest in that.
Yeah.
But when I took my very first public speaking course at Merrimack, I had this fantastic teacher. His name was Alan Schiller. And over the course of 12 weeks or whatever that class was, I went from being completely horrified to get up in front of a group of people and talk to absolutely loving it.
It's 180.
And it was a complete 180 that this guy pulled on me and many other people in the class. He was a phenomenal teacher. So I was like, okay, I can do more classes like this and actually be good at them. Whereas, math, I'm having to see a tutor 3 times a week to pull a C, So I was like, okay, I'm going to go this route. And at the time, my dad was working at Anheuser-Busch. He had a long career at AB and in marketing primarily. And they were doing some stuff, AB was doing some stuff with Rams Radio 103.3 KLOU here in St. Louis. They would put on these tailgate parties before Rams games, live broadcast, the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So he had some radio contacts locally and had kind of said, hey, you're going to have to do some kind of internship at Merrimack. Maybe I could try and talk to these guys at the radio station.
Yeah.
So that was my foot in the door, and I ended up getting an internship with Clear Channel Radio in the year 2000. And I was an intern for 103.3 KLOU and Mix 93.7. It was like an adult contemporary station. So basically for a whole summer, I worked nonstop, and I was like the guy that would drive the van around
Okay.
and set up at whatever shop or bar they were doing a live event at, hang posters all over the walls,
Yeah.
and then hand out T-shirts and bumper stickers and that kind of stuff, and just help out. So you got to just kind of see how everything worked.
Yeah, you're learning like the whole process.
Exactly. And I learned a lot that I actually still use today in my nonprofit job, stuff I learned from that radio job. But my goal was always to be on the radio. And
Okay.
what you learn when you get in there is that everybody in the building's goal is to be on the radio. The person working the front desk, the person selling ads, they all want to be on the radio.
That's why they're all working there.
Exactly. That's how they all pretty much ended up there. But there's only so many people that
Yeah.
they need on the radio, and so many people that are going to be good enough that they'll actually let get on the radio.
Yeah.
So they don't just say, "Oh yeah, sure,
Yeah.
come in at night." No, it doesn't work like that. So I just kind of hung out. My internship ended. There wasn't anything available. So I just kind of continued to go to school. And maybe 6 months went by, and they needed somebody in the promotions department. So basically what I had been doing as an intern, they said, "Hey, do you want to come and do this now
Keep
as a
doing
part-time?" Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was how I then got back into the building and just worked nonstop for a couple of years in marketing and promotions, just driving those vans around town.
Yeah.
And eventually they started letting me do some like late, like middle of the night
Yeah,
stuff.
and no one's gonna see this.
Exact. That's the thing, and
Yeah,
that's what they have to do.
yeah,
You are free to go in there, and they kind of give you the freedom to just go in there and screw up, because
yeah,
literally there's nobody listening, and
yeah.
nobody cares. Or if they're listening, they're not paying attention. I mean, I'm talking like you're going to be on from 2 to 4 in the morning, and you get to talk twice an hour.
Yeah.
Don't make it longer than 20 seconds.
Stakes are low.
Yeah, stakes are low. There's not much you can screw up. So that started, and I got to be a fill-in traffic reporter. So a little
Okay.
bit further, a little
Yeah.
bit further. And after 6 years with Clear Channel, I found out that this new station had popped up on the dial, 106.5 The Arch,
Yeah.
and they were hiring. They were filling out their on-air staff, and I had sent in stuff, and brought in for an interview, got a job. So I was finally full-time on the air,
Yeah,
and I was the 7 to midnight guy for like the first year and a half. 106.5 was on the air,
yeah,
and yeah, so I was just getting to do a radio show every single day, helping make commercials. All the local ads that they sell, for the most part, are made right there at the station, by the people that work there.
yeah.
So I was getting to do some voiceover work and all that. And that kind of parlayed into some other interesting things that are still with me all these years later. I was working a live broadcast one day, and somebody showed up and said that they worked for a independent pro wrestling organization, like one of these little indie shows.
Just kind of came up out of nowhere.
Yeah, this woman came up out of nowhere, and they had a show that same weekend at some VFW hall or something in Southern Illinois. And would you like to come and you could be like a special guest announcer?
Yeah,
Great. And then I ended up working a string of shows with this
Yeah.
indie wrestling company.
yeah. That's important because I can't remember who I was talking to, but I was saying that there's always opportunity.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's just whether or not you're going to like be able to take advantage of that opportunity.
Sure.
So you certainly paid your dues, and along the way, as opportunities came up, you were just able to take advantage of them, right? So you put yourself in that position. You know what I mean by
Exactly.
putting in the work.
Yeah.
You said something earlier. I had a question about you.
Yeah.
You're talking about your teacher. What was
Sure.
what was it about that teacher that made that 180 for you? Like, what was there any particular like techniques that they did, or what really stood out?
So I can tell you on day one, I'm nervous as can be. I'm sitting in this classroom at Merrimack. I don't know anybody else in the room. Everybody's like, roughly 20 to 25 years old.
Yeah.
And we're all just sitting around quietly. I think everybody in there had that same fear, like, what are they going to make me do? This is
Yeah.
a public
Well, you're going
speaking
to have to
test.
speak some.
Exactly.
And that's like
And-
everybody's number one fear.
Yeah, it is. First day, right out of the gates, this teacher comes walking in about 2 minutes late. He did this on purpose to make sure everybody was in there sitting and waiting. He comes walking in with the biggest grin on his face, and he's swinging his arms and doing this, and he is singing some show tune.
Yeah.
And then he starts singing, "My name is Alan Schiller," and he's singing a song about his name.
Yeah.
And everyone's just kind of like, okay, this guy's kind of wild. And then here's what we're doing. We're going to start with you. I want you to stand up and you sing to everybody your name.
Oh, I love that. That made everybody cringe
Oh,
in that moment.
yeah.
Did your heart just
There
drop?
was 15 heart attacks right there. And it's like, are you kidding me? And I remember, like, I mean,
Time to
just
withdraw.
thinking about it right now, my
You gotta
heart
withdraw
is
from that class immediately.
my speeding up. Yeah, I went home thinking, what other options are out there? Like, if I drop this class, what else can I take? And
Yeah.
I stuck it out. But yeah, when it got to me, my name is Joe Parisi, in front of a bunch of people you don't know.
It just made you super
It's
uncomfortable
horrifying.
immediately.
Yeah, and he just what he was basically doing was just pushing everybody into the pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna
That's
learn to swim.
That's cool. Yeah. So many teachers just want to baby step you into things, and you can't do. I mean, oftentimes diving headfirst is the only way to go. I dive headfirst into everything. I don't know. That's just the way I do things.
I like to think I do, but yeah, but that was one of those spots where you had no other option. You were in the room. What was
Yeah.
I gonna do? Just say, I'm not doing it. I'm not
Yeah,
doing it.
I mean, you have to do
I'm
it.
quitting the class. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
had no choice.
You have to do it.
And that was just like block number one.
Yeah.
And then that was probably the only public speaking that took place that day. The next week it was he just had all these little
Yeah.
silly
So that was
things
your
like
first
that.
public speaking course was in college,
Yeah.
none in high school or anything like that.
No, I mean every once in a while you'd have to give us speech for a class, but it would be like for a
Yeah.
history class. You're gonna write a paper and you have to present it.
Right.
This was the first full blown
Oh.
12, 16 weeks, whatever it was,
Oh, okay.
of I think it was actually called oral communications.
Yeah.
And yeah, if it weren't for that class, I don't know what I'd be doing today. I probably would have found something else that
That's interesting. So that one class for sure set you down like the path for, I mean, where you are today.
I strongly think so. I strongly something else could have happened along the way that would have eventually led me here, but that changed the focus of what classes I was going to take moving forward,
Uh-huh.
what my major was going to be. I ended up getting my associates in TV radio broadcasting from Merrimack, and then I left. After 2 years, I went to SIUE for a year, and then I ended up coming back. The year at SIUE, it was like still more general classes. So
Yeah.
it's just like I'm taking like intro to law and stuff like that. It's like,
Yeah.
what
What are
am
you
I doing
doing?
here? Yeah.
Yeah.
And around that same time, I started dating what is now my wife, who lived in St. Louis, and it was just kind of like, I don't really need to be in Edwardsville. I'm going to come back to St. Louis. So
Yeah.
I ended up just transferring to Webster,
Right.
and which is where I
It's good
finished from.
school. You know, they have
Yeah.
the best chess team in the country.
I believe
It's
it.
like a mecca.
Yeah, and
oddly
no
enough.
football team.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was definitely an interesting school, but they had just some classes that I probably wouldn't have had the opportunity to take anywhere else. Like twice I took sports broadcasting,
Yeah.
where it was they would set us up with a little recorder like that, and okay, this week you're covering baseball. Bring me a story about what the baseball team has going on right now.
Yeah.
And they wanted interviews, they wanted live sound from a game, they wanted intro music, just all these, and
A
you're learning
full-on
about
production.
editing, full on production, and I just had an absolute blast with it. And when I got into those type of situations in school, I went from being, this C-level student that struggled his entire life
Yeah.
to suddenly the guy that was being used as the example
Yeah.
by the teacher. Like, okay, here's what Joe did.
Yeah. That's
Make it
interesting,
like
right?
this. Yeah.
Because some of those other teachers probably would have just, counted you off and just discredited you. Oh, that's just an average student, right? He'll never
Yeah.
be anything more than average.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but man, I mean, that was the first time in my life that it was like, wow, I'm like the better,
Yeah.
like up there, like at the top of the class as far
Mhm.
as like being able to do this stuff, and I had never felt that in my entire life.
Yeah.
So that
That's
alone
important. Yeah.
made me feel like, okay, I can stick it out and do 2 more years of this and get that.
Yeah,
Get that
100%.
diploma.
100%. Well, that builds momentum, right? And that builds confidence, right?
Right.
And then one thing will lead to the next.
Right.
And then who knows what that could lead to, right? So
Absolutely.
your dad was in marketing,
Mhm.
and I've been listening to you, dude. You're a fantastic storyteller.
Thank you.
Oh.
I think I get long-winded and I tail off, which people will probably learn by the end of this. But thank you.
But so much of marketing, whether it's orally or it's telling a story,
Yeah.
right? And did you learn anything from like your dad growing up at all, like that you can remember, or where does storytelling come in for you?
My dad is a fantastic people person.
Okay.
He was marketing / sales. He would sell in
That nice
new
blend.
programs to stadiums and arenas, and talk them into putting up this Bud billboard over here. And if you do
Okay.
that, the cost per keg is gonna
Yeah.
drop. So he would like work deals and stuff like that. But he can walk into any room and make 10 new friends.
Yeah, he's talking to
he's got the
everybody.
voice. So that's another thing that I kind of got to see. He would be involved in photo shoots, commercial shoots from time to time for AB,
Uh-huh.
and he took me along on some things from a couple times as a kid. So I got to see like what a commercial photo shoot
Yeah.
went like. He got to voice. I remember it was a thing that was in Walgreens. It was one of these displays that had a motion sensor in it that when you walked past it, it started to talk to you like, "Hey, you, come over here."
Oh yeah.
And he was the voice on that. So
Oh, that's cool.
And he got to be in a couple of beer commercials and stuff. So yeah, he definitely exposed me to that world that most people just never get to look behind that curtain.
Yeah, I mean that
curtain and
exposure is
see.
huge.
Yeah. So and I always thought that stuff was really cool. So as I got older and realized that, oh, wow, I could actually pursue these opportunities and get involved in that stuff, and I did. So yeah, But yeah, I mean, he's just the kind of guy that he would take me along to, Cardinal games and stuff like that, where he would be maybe entertaining customers or just going to, hey, we're going to stop by and see one of my customers real quick and then
Yeah.
watch a game. And I just, see how he would interact with these
People.
people. And you
Yeah.
could tell that they just loved him. So yeah, I just kind of realized uh, what it takes to,
Yeah.
to be a customer focused
Right. Well,
individual.
at the end of the day, no matter what you're really doing, I mean, we're ultimately just dealing with other people.
Hmm.
So, I mean, that's a good skill to have
Yeah.
to communicate
Yeah.
and to, EQ is, I think, the popular term now. What's your emotional intelligence? How well can you read people?
Yeah.
Do you have empathy? I struggle with empathy, man. That's one of the reasons I started this podcast is because as an athlete,
Mhm.
everything is so focused on you.
Right.
You're always focused on how can I be the best? How can I be the best? Everything you're in MMA, you're in camp. You have 2 days. You're always training, and then you have to have a little bit of your chip on your shoulder because you're competing, and like you feel like you have to prove something.
Hmm.
So I don't feel like I ever developed empathy, and I really wanted to take the time. And like a podcast is a perfect way to do that. To sit down with somebody uninterrupted and like actually have a connection and like a real conversation,
Yeah.
and to like actually care, right? So that's a good skill to have, and it sounds like you learned it early from your dad,
I think
whether
so.
you intended to or not.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's just what you're around. I mean, you're gonna
Yeah,
just pick up whatever it is you're around, whether it's good, bad, or in the middle.
yeah. So growing up, were you? I mean, you said you love pop culture.
Hmm.
Uh, I can't tell you how many hours I've probably wasted like
Hmm.
watching movies and different things. Were you a big movie buff growing up, or like
Yeah.
how did you spend your time doing like? I guess where does pop culture fit in for you?
Sure. So I was an only child until I was in eighth grade.
Okay.
My sister, I have one sister. She wasn't born until I was 13, 14 years old.
Yeah.
So only child, a lot of alone time.
Mm-hmm.
You can only play with your mom and dad
Right.
so often.
Yeah.
They have lives. So I, at an early age, really fell in love with listening to the radio.
Okay.
I mean, I'm talking back in the day where Rick Idle would come on Q106.5 and do the top 10 countdown at 5 o'clock or whatever, and I
Okay.
was recording it every day with a cassette so that I had my favorite couple of songs that I could then listen to anytime I wanted.
Oh yeah.
And in the meantime, I'm learning about DJ styles
Uh-huh.
and figuring out the type of radio shows and stuff that I was into. So I got into radio real young. I would just sit in my room by myself and listen and record. Same thing with movies. I mean, I was born in 81. So in 85, 86 is when VCRs and
Mm-hmm.
video VHS rental became a thing. So, I mean, I would love to know how much money we spent growing up on at Blockbuster Video or at the
Yeah.
grocery store video store.
Mhm.
And I mean, I just rented movies constantly.
Yeah.
Usually the same 5 or 6 just over and over and
Mhm.
over. But yeah, I mean, absolutely going back to recording movies off of television with the commercials.
Oh
in
yeah,
it, you
man.
know?
Oh yeah, yeah. The VHS, and then yeah, I'd always like fast forward through the commercials. That was like
Yeah.
the nice thing about that though. Like I knew if I fell asleep, it's still recording, and I could watch it later.
Yeah.
This is way before we had DVR and whatnot. Yeah, I watched countless hours of movies. Like my grandma had just a huge movie collection, and just VHSs were a huge part of my upbringing. So yeah, I can understand that life.
Looking back, I'm so glad that I grew up in that era, having that experience, that shopping experience of you have to go up to the video store, walk up and down the shelves,
Dude, that
pick
was
up the
so
box.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you're looking at the artwork, you're reading the back. What is it rated? Will my mom let me get this?
Yeah.
Oh, they don't have it. When asking the clerk, when can you tell me when it's due back so I
Yeah.
know when to come back for that movie?
Oh, dude.
I
Yeah.
cherish those, and I'm kind of bummed I have a 5.5-year-old son. I'm kind of bummed that that's something that he's totally missing out on. I mean,
Yeah.
there's still a couple. Family Video is still out there,
Yeah.
and I may run him through the process a couple of times just so he can have that
Just so he can do
experience
it.
of
Yeah.
that letdown of your favorite movie not being there.
Dude, that's a huge letdown, right? Like, I mean, I was born in '87, so I mean, I remember going to Blockbuster and going to different places, and you'd hope that it's in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is before, like, I didn't have a computer, you didn't have internet, so you're like you go and it's like, oh, like this movie just came out, or I mean, if it's a commercial or something, like
Yeah.
you can see the previews on TV. But I remember it felt like forever that it would take a movie from the time it was in theaters to actually come out on VHS. I remember that like took forever,
Months. Yeah.
and now it takes like weeks.
Hmm.
It's the craziest thing.
Yeah. The new, I don't know when this will come out, but the new Halloween movie,
Yeah,
Michael Myers movie, just came out this week.
yeah, I
And
saw it.
that opened, I think, Halloween weekend. So
Yeah,
it's at two
yeah,
months after
yeah.
theater opening.
I felt like a whole year. I remember that it was like it was in theaters, and like you can expect to be able to buy it like next year or at least 6 months. I
Yeah.
felt like,
Yeah.
and now everything's so instant. Everything is so instant. So yeah, there's pluses and minuses to
Sure.
that, right? Because
Absolutely.
it did suck whenever you went to the video store and you couldn't get it,
Right.
but now I
Yeah.
mean, you always have it.
Yeah. What a hurdle they came over. Like now it's never out of stock for
Never.
anybody ever.
No, and for them, they make way more money.
Yeah.
And this, I mean, you don't have to print. There's no
No production.
packaging.
Mhm.
Yeah,
No
there's no
packaging.
artwork. There's nothing. It's just content.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
get the file onto the server.
Yeah, you did an excellent podcast on Blockbuster.
Thanks.
Yeah, man. And
Yeah, I had to do one on Blockbuster video.
yeah, and you're going through the whole timeline of that,
Yeah.
and that's when I was like, man, you're just a really good storyteller.
Thank you. Thank you. And the the podcast that I do, if I'm fully confident that if it was just me telling those stories for an hour, hour and a half, it wouldn't be all that entertaining. I find guests, like on that one, I brought on a guy named Greg Sattel, who is this leading business expert who has published articles on the rise and fall of Blockbuster Video in like Forbes magazine. I'm like,
Yeah.
this guy knows his stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to bring him on. I can tell you the timeline. Like, here's when their first location opened. Here's when their second location
Yeah.
opened. Here's when they filed for bankruptcy. Here's da-da-da.
Yeah,
But as far as getting into the nuts and bolts of it, it's like, and now
right.
I'm going to introduce
Yeah.
a guy who has done more research on this than anybody in America.
He had he had a lot of good insight on the situation, but your build up was amazing. Like,
Thank you.
That timeline was great. It
Thank
really
you,
was.
thank you.
I learned a lot. I didn't know a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, and I think on that one, like I had found on YouTube a handful of old Blockbuster TV commercials and include the audio and stuff, and that's just fun looking back at what these commercials were like. I mean, it was like for the first week only, Titanic will only be available at Blockbuster, and here in the commercial is a guy that 2 years later was one of the stars of the movie American Pie. He was just
really?
at that time he was like
Whoa.
just a commercial actor trying to make his way.
Yeah.
And he's ended up in this Blockbuster Video commercial.
That's funny.
But yeah, those are just the kinds of things that I love to learn about. And then I learned that, like, oh my gosh, like 2 years after this guy was in the Blockbuster commercial, he's in the number one
like grossing movie.
rented
Yeah.
movie at Blockbuster Video. How cool is that?
Yeah, that's interesting. It's a turn of tides.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I was driving to Walmart the other day. I don't go there very often.
Uh-huh.
I'm not a fan. I don't like to support that particular company,
Sure.
so I don't like to go there. But I was driving there, and I was passing what used to be a Blockbuster,
Yeah,
and
they're
now
everywhere.
it's like a Napa auto parts store or something like that now.
It's weird, and what I learned on doing that episode is the one survivor really out there. And there's maybe a few other stores here and there, but
Yeah.
the one surviving company in that game is Family Video, which is Midwest based.
Yeah, I've seen them around.
And they've got here in St. Louis, there's a dozen of them
Mm-hmm.
within 45, 60-minute drive from where we're sitting.
Yeah.
And what they did is they bought all the properties that they sit on. Blockbuster rented in strip malls and stuff. And over the years, as things got tough and their sales went slowly down and down and down, the rent in those strip malls went up and up and up.
Yeah.
And it broke.
Couldn't keep
It
up.
fell apart.
Yeah.
Family Video, somebody had the idea long ago to buy the land, build the location on it, and as sales over the years have shrunken down a little bit, what they'll do is they'll throw up a wall
Yeah.
in the middle of that store, and we're going to let somebody rent out the space on the other side of that wall. So now you see a Family Video on one side, and it's Marco's Pizza on the other,
Yeah.
or some little a nail salon or a H&R Block type place, one of these things.
That's smart.
And so they've been able to adjust accordingly, and if and when the time comes, they've now got, I don't know, a couple hundred pieces of real estate that they can just sell.
Yeah, real estate is really where it's at, right? I
Yeah.
mean, Ray Kroc, that's how he got.
Yeah.
That's how he got his wealth.
Right.
Everybody thought it was McDonald's. No, like he owned all of the real estate
Yeah.
that McDonald's was on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they definitely figured out a smart play
Yeah.
early on.
Yeah.
That was a good move.
Yeah. They can just pull the video stores out altogether and just,
Yeah.
they just have all this rental property or whatever they want. But
Yeah. So how do you like to find, or how do you go about deciding what you're going to do a show on?
for the Odd Podcast, really it'll just kind of depend on what pops up on television. I'll be
Yeah.
scrolling through Netflix and, oh, there's a movie I haven't seen in 25 years, and
yeah.
I'll put it on and I'll get to watch it. Oh, Never Ending Story. I haven't seen that since I was 10 years old. And as I'm watching it, I got IMDb. I got the
Yeah.
IMDb app on my phone. I'm looking it up. I'm learning about these people. Like, I wonder if they were ever in anything else. And then down the rabbit hole, then I find myself looking up the girl who was the princess in the Never-Ending Story, and she's got her own website. Let
Yeah.
me shoot her a message and see if she'd be interested in chatting.
Okay.
Boom, and so it's basically like that stuff that just kind of through some random Facebook meme post or something like that will just pop onto my radar. But I really only do shows about things that I've been a fan of for a long time.
Yeah.
I've
You have
had-
like genuine interest in.
Exactly. I've had some publicists that will reach out. I just have ended up on their email lists saying, "Hey, we've got so and so available for interviews now," and they'll give me a little bio on this person. And it's like, okay, this person was in 20 movies. I've never seen any of these movies. I've never heard of this person.
They're just
I'm
trying
gonna
to fish
pay-
people off. on
Right,
you.
right.
Yeah.
And it's like, no thanks.
Right.
It's like, well, we thought it kind of fit right up what your show is. I said, my show is about things that I love.
Yeah.
I'm excited that this gentleman has a book out about his years as an actor, but I've never heard of him. So
Right.
I'm
Right.
I have to pay money to do this podcast,
Yeah.
to put it online and stuff. So that's the other
time
thing
and
too.
effort, right?
Time, effort,
When
and
you're
then
hosting
fees. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is going to be just a passion project for me. So
Yeah. How many people ask you like, when are you going to start monetizing? Or you get, all the time, it's like, hey man, I just started this thing. For me anyway, I just started this thing. I'm just trying to put out the best content that I can. I definitely would like to monetize it, and I'm going to start taking those steps. But from day one, that's what people start talking to you about, or they act like if you're not doing that, then there's something wrong with what you're doing.
no, not at all.
Have you come across that?
I have, and trust me, I've explored like how can we try to monetize this, and what a lot of people listening may or may not know. On a lot of the podcasts that you'll hear the host talking about the mattress. That's a big one. They're selling these mattresses now, or this monthly snack box or whatever.
Yeah.
And they always say like, make sure at checkout enter
Whatever code.
enter Adam Meredith at checkout and
Yeah.
get 15% off your first order.
Yeah.
Typically, the way those deals are set up is they're not getting paid anything to do those commercials.
No, that's all affiliate marketing.
It's affiliate marketing. So
Yeah.
they're getting, if somebody actually goes through, enters your code, and makes a purchase,
Right.
you get a couple dollars.
Right.
So you could, on this very episode, jump into a commercial for On It or whatever right now, but because I'm assuming you don't have 5 million listeners per episode, you're
Yeah.
maybe it's like, okay, maybe we made $7 off this episode because 3 people
Yeah.
actually bought.
I do affiliate marketing with actually I have it right here. This company Jumbo Superfoods.
Here we go.
Yeah, dude. And they make CBD products and THC products like in the state of California. But I love their CBD drops and that Muscle Bomb. I actually I came across them on Joe Rogan, and then I use the Muscle Bomb after jiu-jitsu. So
Okay.
yeah, they have an affiliate marketing program that I do, but that's the only thing that I pitch it before. So
Okay.
like after this, I'll record an intro, and then I'll plug it in there real quick.
Very cool.
But yeah, a lot of those, I guess a lot of people just do affiliate marketing.
It's fine, yeah, but the bigger your audience is, the better chance that
Oh,
a
for
couple of
sure.
people are going to jump on and buy the
For
bomb.
sure. Yeah.
I think we are both dealing with smaller audiences. I mean, I can tell you, I mean, I don't have millions of
I don't have millions
of downloads.
I wish.
Yeah, exactly. I
it'd be
wish.
nice.
Everybody does, and then you can start to work some better deals. And podcast is weird because there's really no reason for all of your listeners to be from the St. Louis area or wherever you're doing the thing.
Right.
So that kind of knocks out most local companies.
Most local ones, yeah.
It's like,
it really
I
does.
have, let's say my episode gets 1,000 listens. 100 of them were people from St. Louis, and that's just because some people that know me know that I do a podcast. But the other 900 were from scattered around.
Right.
That's not attractive to the guy that owns a restaurant, 3 blocks
No.
from my house.
Yeah.
What good does that do him if people in
Yeah.
California are hearing me talk about how great his restaurant is? So.
That's probably where like social media influence comes in, followers and stuff. That's we're getting in hairy waters now.
Yeah, yeah. Long story short, I'm not sure how to monetize a podcast that doesn't have massive amounts
Yeah.
of downloads. It's very difficult.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know why. I guess people just think that you have a show, so you should start monetizing it.
Yeah,
But
when are you going to quit your job? Right?
yeah. Hey.
I I I 100% do the 2 podcasts that I do out of love.
Yeah, let's talk about the other
Pure-
one as well,
pure
right?
love, yeah.
I don't want to mess it up, so I wrote it down.
Sure.
America's Pop Culture Trivia Show. I actually listened to one episode of that
There
one.
you go. There
That-
you go.
How did you come up with that?
So in 2018, in the fall of 2018, my sister-in-law, she works for a nonprofit, and asked me if I would be interested in emceeing a trivia night that her nonprofit was putting on, fundraiser for them. Yeah, sure, I'd love to. She said, great, we will have all the questions prepared. We'll have somebody there to keep you on track, on time and everything. You're just going to be the person on the microphone. Encourage them to buy raffle tickets, do the whole thing. Great,
Yeah.
great, love doing that stuff. So I did it a couple days before the event. They emailed me all the questions so I could read through them, get familiar.
Mm-hmm.
And just over the course of that week, getting prepared for that event, hosting that event, I had such a great time. I was like, there's definitely something here for me, because a lot of what I get into on my current podcast, the Odd Podcast, is trivia type facts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I love learning that kind of
Lots
stuff.
and lots of facts.
Yeah, I just love learning that kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, what if I just took that same information that I love to research and I'm already learning about, and make it into a trivia game.
Yeah.
Make it a podcast. And a month later, episode 1 launched.
Dude, you're asking tough questions.
I keep it pretty tough. Yeah, I keep it pretty tough. I'm putting out about 3 episodes a month, and it's I listened to a bunch of trivia podcasts that are out there. There's a million of them.
Mm-hmm.
And what I didn't like was you would put it on, and the guys would be, or the girls would be, sitting around just BSing, just talking, and they'd throw out a question, and they'd all kind of talk about it. Do you remember that movie? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, get to the question.
Right.
Get
It's
to
like
the-
let's actually have
let's
a trivia.
go. Let's go. So on mine, it's just me.
Yeah.
3 rounds. Question 1.
Yeah.
5-second break. Question 2. Boom, boom, boom.
Right.
Question 3. So you get 7 questions that are about movies.
Yep.
Then I give you all the answers.
All the answers.
Yeah, and it's done. And we're moving on. So
I
you
found
learn
one.
something. Yeah, you just, it's quick. It keeps moving. And yeah, they're pretty tough, but you'll learn some stuff.
Yeah.
A whole show, 21 questions. It's over in about 15 minutes. And
Yeah.
it's going over well. And I was doing that show for a month, and somebody that I've known for a while reached out to me and said, hey, I've got a he does mobile DJ type stuff and hosts events and stuff. And he said, hey, I've got a double booking coming up, and I need somebody to host a trivia night.
Nice.
Would you be interested? So this weekend in Edwardsville, Illinois, I'm doing for a nonprofit, hosting a trivia
Oh, that's
night.
cool.
So yeah, so it's leading to other opportunities and putting
Yeah.
me in contact with new audiences, new people, and it all just kind of ties back together. So where I'm not monetizing the podcast within the podcast,
Yeah. There are other ways to do that.
people are, yeah. Ooh, here's a guy that he's comfortable on a microphone. He likes trivia stuff.
Yeah.
Want to host our trivia night? We can pay you to do that.
Yeah.
So there you go. So it was the podcast was monetized without me
Yeah.
selling ads on
Oh,
it.
absolutely. I mean, there's other ways to make money. I mean, just providing value alone will. I mean, you can make money other ways. It doesn't have to be directly from the podcast,
Yeah.
but then I mean, that's also like it's a part of your portfolio now. It's like, all right, you want to see some of my work? People can easily find your work.
And yeah, I mean, as a person who's my primary side hustle is voiceover.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that as well.
Yeah, and I could talk about that all day with you. But yeah, but yeah, having these podcasts out there, I mean, it is your recorded voice
Yeah.
going out there into the
It's
world.
going out there, yeah.
So that's
And who knows who hears that? Maybe somebody hears that and be like, "Oh shit, I really like that voice." Like, let me find that person and hire them for a job.
That's weird things have happened. Yeah.
So how did you get into voiceover work? Was that your intention? Because so that's your own, like you said, side gig. But is
Hmm.
that's your own company, right? Joe Parisi
Joe
voiceover.
Parisi, voiceover.com.
Yep.
When I was in radio, like I said, most local commercials that are sold are made in-house at the radio station. Radio stations have a production director who works on that stuff all day, but obviously they can't just have the same guy's voice on
Everything.
100 commercials that are currently airing on that station. So all day long they're bringing in the other DJs and even people from the sales or marketing department. Bring them in. Hey, sit down. I need you to read this script. And
Yeah.
so half the time you're riding in your car and you're hearing a commercial, that voice is the guy that works in the marketing department
It's
or the
just
guy that
Phil.
drives the van for the radio station. It's anybody just to get some
Yeah,
variety on
just
there.
a different voice.
Right. So I got to do a lot of that stuff just working at radio stations and really loved it. And over the course of a couple of years, I had some people take me under their wing and teach me how to, the technical how to, the production side of it, the editing and stuff like that. And
Uh-huh.
got to learn how to just kind of do it from start to finish by myself. And when you work in radio, like I said, that can lead to other things. People will ask you to host an event or MC an event, or sometimes, maybe somebody that makes marketing videos for a living
Hmm.
will reach out and say, "Hey, I got a project. I need a voice. I need a narrator on. Can you, would you be interested?" And over the years, a handful of those kind of clients popped up, and some of them have stuck with me for nearly 20 years now. And a couple, 3, 4 times a year,
Yeah.
I'll get a call or an email. Hey, we got something we think you'd be good for. You want to
Yeah.
come in and take a crack at this? About 5 years ago, I decided to really get aggressive about it, and I had been just kind of taking whatever came in, and it was just a small pool of clients that a couple of times a year I'd get a call to go voice a script, and I decided to put together some nice new demos and build out a website and start get the demos out. I'm looking up production companies and radio stations and anything I can find that
Yeah.
may need to hire a voiceover person at some point. Just and over the course of the last 5 years, that's built into something. It's not huge. It's a small piece of the pie, but it's a little business.
I mean, it's a piece of it, though. I
Yeah.
mean,
This morning before 9 o'clock, I had 2 jobs come to me via email.
nice.
So when I leave here, I'll go home, and I have to record a DuPont commercial that will air on Spotify,
Nice.
and that's for a company in New York. And what's the other one? A medical. It's a software that the medical industry would use
Hmm.
for training purposes.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm the voice that will be on the marketing video for this software that they will, be using to try and sell. So yeah, I've got about an hour's worth of voiceover work to do when
Yeah.
I get home tonight. And yeah, nice little.
So what's your process like when you're doing voiceover work? I
Mhm.
imagine they send you a script.
Mhm.
So are you just like read over the script like several times and
Mhm.
then just kind of find a flow and
Yeah, sometimes they'll give you some specifications like, okay, we need it real upbeat, or or just kind of just slow, smooth, clean.
uh-huh.
Watch pronunciation. There's some tricky medical words in there.
Yeah.
So they'll usually kind of give you an idea of what vibe they're going for.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes they're real cool about it, and if there's music that's going to be involved, they'll send you the MP3s so you can kind of see like what's the pace of the music going to be like. So I
Yeah.
can kind of figure out where I need to be, how chipper or fast I need to be talking,
Mhm.
so I can kind of match it. Um, but yeah, it's basically that they'll send you a script, just give you a few little bullet points like it needs to be under 60 seconds to fit into the video.
Yeah.
Don't make the spacings between the paragraphs more than 2 seconds because it needs to time out. Or
Yeah.
they'll just give you some little guidelines, and you do it, and then just going back to being customer focused. I always say, listen, if you've got any tweaks or anything like that you need me to make, just let me know. I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
You don't want to spook them thinking that if they want a sentence redone because they decided it didn't sound right,
Yeah, that's
that you're
gonna
going to
be
say,
an
well,
issue.
I'm going to need
Yeah.
another $200.
Some people
So
are
you
like
just
that.
speak exactly,
Nickel and
exactly.
diamond. That's
Yes, they
bad
are.
business though. They're worried about today's dollar, but they don't worry about like tomorrow's actual like relationship.
Right. So I mean, going back to what we talked to earlier about seeing how my dad would work with customers and stuff like that. I mean, those are the kinds of things that I try and incorporate in my own business. And
Yeah, I like to
yeah,
call that just doing the right thing.
right. Once I'm in with them and I'm working on the project with them, I just try and go completely above and beyond to just wow them with
Yeah,
good, fast, affordable service, so that next time they get a job,
yeah.
their first thought isn't to hop online and start looking up voiceover people. It's just like he was easy to
Let's
deal
call
with.
Joe.
Yeah, he was. That's the thing. I mean, just making yourself easy to deal with
Yeah,
will get you
goes a long way.
repeat. But it's way easier for me to rely on repeat customers. Eventually,
Yeah,
circling back when new projects come along, than to constantly be chasing the new customer.
yeah. Well, that goes back to that 80-20 rule, and it's big in business, right? Like 80% of you can apply it to anything, but
Yeah,
80% of your profits are probably going to come from like 20% of your customers.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So same thing for you, right?
hmm
Oh, I had a question within there. What was it?
It's a weird business, man. It's super competitive,
Yeah.
and the barrier to entry now, just
Hmm.
like with podcasting, you're talking about a lot of the same kind of equipment. The
Right.
barrier to entry is low.
It's super low. It doesn't take very much. I mean, you can literally start a podcast with the phone if that's
hmm
what you really wanted to
Yeah.
do. I think that recorder, the Zoom 6, is like $400 or something like
hmm
that. These headsets are like a couple $100
hmm
each. So like $800. You can. It doesn't take very
Yeah,
much.
and you could
Yeah.
get in for two.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
You
if
could
it's
do
just
it.
you and a microphone,
Oh yeah, if it's
yeah,
just you and a mic, you can even do it for way cheaper.
yeah.
So now, when you're sending these files, is it
Mhm.
just like just the raw audio file, and then they just do everything else on
Usually,
their end?
yeah,
Okay.
usually they've got a bigger picture in mind. So yeah, usually they just want. I'll edit out even like what you just heard right there.
Yeah.
I'll cut all that out because
Yeah.
somebody's going to have to. So I will
Yeah.
do that on my end. I'll cut out all the
All the little.
the breathing things. I've got some audio plugins that will take care of if there's any clicking sounds, like with my mouth and stuff like that. I can
Yeah.
I can run it through a little. Uh, it's called Isotope RX. It's this plugin I use that can get rid of little clicks in your
Oh.
speech and stuff like that, and I'll just polish it up as best as I can.
Yeah.
But I'm just sending my voice, and then they're
Right, and they're doing
doing
whatever.
whatever they want with it.
Yeah, and it doesn't take very much work to edit those little things out.
No, no.
If
Most
you're.
of the stuff I do is the recordings are a minute and a half to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
If it's these little marketing videos, yeah. I mean, you're talking about 3 minutes, so it may take me 15 minutes to get the recording just the way I like it,
Yeah.
and then another 15 minutes or so to go through and just kind of clean it
Chop
up,
it down.
yeah, cut out all those the breaths and all that
Yeah.
stuff, and
And
then
you're doing all that on GarageBand.
Mhm.
Man,
Yeah.
yeah. See,
which
it's
which
so.
a lot of people, like big shots in the voiceover industry, will be like GarageBand. It's like I can do absolutely everything I need to
And
do
and it
in
comes
GarageBand,
preloaded.
and it came
You know what
free
I
on my
mean?
computer.
Yeah, but
That's what I do my podcast through too. It's
Yeah.
GarageBand, yeah.
Yeah, ditto. So what might somebody who is just getting into voiceover, work, what might they expect to start making? Or how long? Two questions actually. One, what might they expect to start making, and then also how consistent is work for somebody like just getting into the business? You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely. So consistency, even for the best of the best, is spotty.
yeah,
This month I've been shockingly busy, but that's not to say that there were some months
yeah,
in the last year where I made $30.
yeah.
I mean, there's
I mean, you're an entrepreneur. I mean that's the buzzword these days. But I mean, you're essentially just making it on your own,
Exactly.
any which way you can.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So I mean, there's good months, there's bad months. You got to be prepared for that. Only the most successful people in the game have that consistent work.
Yeah.
A very small percentage of voiceover people are true full-time voiceover people. Like
Yeah.
the amount of people who they are paying their rent and all their bills only from their income for voiceover is very small.
Yeah.
Very small. Not that it can't be done, but it's just a small, that we're talking the top
Yeah.
5% of
Well,
the industry.
I think of voiceover, and just from like my child mind is like cartoons. I immediately go to cartoons, right?
Yeah.
And you'll even notice it's the same actors, doing
Yeah.
multiple shows.
Hmm.
It's like,
A lot of,
this one lady has done like 20 different voices,
yeah.
and you know what I mean. So it's obviously a small pool that they're hiring.
It is. There's different areas within voiceover. There's animation,
Right.
which is that. Um, I don't think I've ever done anything in animation. There's commercial, which is obviously radio, television commercials.
Uh-huh.
There's what they call promo. That's what you will see at the beginning, a commercial for a TV show.
Hmm.
Tonight on Family Guy.
Yeah.
And then it plays like a clip from the show,
Yep.
that's promo.
Yep.
That's a big one. I don't work in promo. There's like, it's a small pool of people who do all those shows.
Very
Like,
particular voice that they're looking for.
yeah, Fox, every TV station like has a guy
Yeah.
or a girl,
Hmm.
they have their one person. There's e-learning is a big one now. I do a lot of that. I mean,
Yeah.
how many, for the person listening right now, I mean, I'm sure you can think of a situation where you got a new job or your company brought in some new product and you needed to sit down at the computer and go through some online training and it
Absolutely.
talked to you.
Yeah.
Somebody voiced that. There is way more jobs like that around than there is to be the superhero on the cartoon.
Yeah.
And those are the kinds of jobs that are far more accessible to me
Hmm.
as a St. Louis, Missouri-based voice actor. Um, I would market to, just these video production companies that make those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Make connections with them, and then, yeah, it's not that it's less competitive, but there's just a lot more of those
Yeah.
opportunities that pop up for me.
I mean, that's what it's about too. So there is a book that I read some time ago. It was called Blue Ocean Strategies, and it's essentially it was a business book. It's essentially just saying go into a market where there's not like a ton of competition.
Hmm.
Whether that means like you're creating that market yourself or whatever the case may be. So, I mean, there's this huge pool of voiceover work,
Yeah.
and there's this huge ocean of like voiceover work for like e-learning, for example. If there's not a lot of competition there,
Right.
why would you not do that? You
Exactly.
know what I mean?
Exactly.
Everybody's trying to do the animation voiceover work.
That's the thing.
Well, let me come do this. This is
Right.
this is work too.
Everybody wants the sexy jobs.
Yeah.
And that's your national commercials that your family and your friends
Yeah.
are gonna see and hear and be like, oh, that was Joe.
Well, that's how you get validation.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
man.
That's what everybody's chasing, but the bread and butter is in those strange little the two jobs that I have to do today. The one is for Spotify, so some people will hear that commercial on Spotify.
Hmm.
The other one, maybe 100 people will hear that within the next year, and that's some guy or gal sitting in their office who just got a little presentation sent to them via email and
Yeah.
says, if you want more information about this project, this product we can offer you, here's a little demo video we put together,
Yeah.
and that one person is going to hear my voice on that.
Yeah, but hey, you still got paid, and
That's the thing, and
it
it pays.
contributes to the overall mission.
Exactly. And a lot of the times it's like, yeah, that paid just as much as the radio commercial
Yeah.
that I'm going to do is going to pay. It equals out. So it's just not, there's not that sexiness about all those jobs. I mean, I do every month I do on hold messages for a hospital in what is it, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So if you call
That's interesting.
Lancaster General Health Penn Medicine and you get stuck on hold,
You're gonna hear
you're
your
going to
voice.
hear, thank you for calling Penn Medicine Lancaster General Health. Someone will be with you shortly. And then I go into, talking about their urgent care or some new things that they've got going on. And
Yeah.
every month I get a handful of, here's the new scripts for this month, And so
Yeah.
that's my study. That's my study stuff.
Yeah.
The commercials, I get a lot of opportunities to audition for commercials, but yeah, I mean, you're one of 100 auditions they're going to listen to, and they're listening to some of the best.
Yeah.
And with the way this industry is set up now, I'm getting thrown in with, people from New York and Los Angeles, and it's just a matter of getting your stuff in
Yeah,
and
dude.
hoping that they think you are the best for that particular. It's not always about, who's the best. It's who's the best for this
This.
script, this spot.
Right. Yeah. Because the people who are casting that, they have a particular sound that they're looking for.
Exactly.
And once they hear that pitch, then they usually just know, I would imagine.
It's that and the way that you said the words, the way you interpreted their script.
Yeah.
There's a million different ways to read two sentences.
Yeah.
Putting your from your tone, your mood, your speed, and all that, and just what words you punch up and stuff like that. You can make it sound a million different ways. So I think more than anything, it's that. It's just saying those
Right.
30 words the
Yeah.
exact way the person who wrote it thought it out
Right.
when they as they typed it.
Now, with like the capabilities of editing, obviously you want to be able to speak clearly and you want to say the words well.
Hmm.
But how perfect? Like, do you need to necessarily say the whole thing straight through? You know what I mean?
Oh no.
It's like let me this little chunk, and
Yeah.
then we're good. All right,
Hmm.
and then this chunk, and then they'll just put it all together, right?
That's pretty much how I do it. Yeah, and I'll just go sentence by sentence, or just
Right.
small grouping by small grouping, get it exactly how I like it, then move to the next one.
Yeah.
Very rarely start to finish.
Right.
You can, but then you're running into problems like kind of running out of breath.
Yeah.
Where it's
Yeah.
like I can take before if I'm going sentence by sentence, I can. So I've got a full
Right, and then you can
full
get
air in
that.
my lungs for that sentence, and boom,
Right.
boom, 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 stuff
Yeah.
like that.
I
Yeah.
think it's easy for people to forget that when they hear the finished product, that it's not just a person who's over like on the other side of the mic being perfect,
Hmm.
100% of the time. Like
Yeah.
there's a process to that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I have a buddy. He lives in L.A. He's in the SAG union,
Hmm.
and he said that he got casted to do some voiceover work. They only needed him for like 10 minutes, and then he made like $200 that day.
Yeah.
Is that
That's realistic.
is like a couple $100? Is that pretty common? Or I mean,
It depends. I mean, yeah, a couple $100 is common. If it was, I think, I mean, I'll just tell you the best job for the shortest amount of time that I've ever had was like an hour in a studio, and it was a national fast food. It was two commercials: national fast food,
yeah,
radio and television.
yeah, and that makes a
And
difference.
when it was all said and done, it was a couple $1,000.
Nice. Yeah, and I'm sure they take into account because I know with
And
like
that's the big fish.
yeah,
I mean, that's not what I'm doing two of today.
well,
Those are
yeah,
the ones you hope a couple of those. If a couple
right.
of those I can land a year,
That's huge.
that's you. Yeah,
Even
but
even
that's
from
the big
just take the
fish.
dollar amount out of it. I mean, just to have that network,
Yeah,
that connection with a large,
exactly.
you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
now you're in the heads of people who are offering jobs that are
Right.
like that too. Yeah,
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 yeah. Because I know in like print ads, for example, like those models, they'll get paid based off the exposure of that ad. Is it going to be national? Is it going to be local? How many people are going to be using? Like, is actually going to see this?
right.
So I imagine they take all of those things into
Hmm.
account, right?
Yeah.
Now we mentioned, you're doing this off here from St. Louis.
Hmm.
Does that make it more difficult? Is it easier to be at like another place like LA or New York and be doing this, or kind of what's that climate like? I mean, the internet has made the world very small.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
It's
So
broken it all open, and I'm sure that if I was living in Los Angeles, that I would be finding more opportunities. There's just more stuff going on there
yeah, more
in the
people.
production
Yeah.
world. But so I have a couple of agencies that I've been able to hook up with. So I'm
Hmm.
on their talent roster. I'm on one here in St. Louis. I'm on one in Chicago. I'm on one in North Carolina, and I'm on one in LA.
Okay.
And I'm getting, in my email auditions from this Los Angeles casting agent or talent agent, and half of their roster is LA based. Half of them are people like me who are just all around the country.
Okay.
The only time it really that I can see comes into play for me against me is a lot of the jobs will say LA local.
Yeah.
They want you to come
To come
into their
in.
studio and do the
Right.
recording there. But a lot of them nowadays, they'll just ask for what they call phone patch. So what I will do, say I booked the job,
Mhm.
we'll get on Skype,
Mhm.
and I can hear them. It's like, so we have a Skype call going
Yeah.
as I'm sitting in front of my microphone. So I will, okay, now I'm reading the commercial. Here we go. This is take one. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, and they'll give you
Okay, what'd
input
you guys
as you're
think of that?
going.
Yeah, and they're in my ear. They can hear it perfectly.
Yeah.
And then when it's all said and done, then I just send them the file.
Yeah.
But yeah, what it does, obviously being in St. Louis, all those jobs that say LA only. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not flying out to LA for a.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Have you ever thought about like just taking like a week or two
Oh, I'd love
Like
to.
during the summer, like there, like pick, take the kid, take the wife,
Yeah.
go out for like a couple weeks, Airbnb a spot,
Oh
and
yeah,
just work.
gosh, yeah, I would love to. But I think what I would do, and I've kind of got this trip planned in my head to go out there, and there's some voiceover big shots out there that offer training in their studios. They run businesses, they run recording studios, and for a fee you can go in and get one-on-one coaching with them,
Yeah,
and that's what I would do.
that'd be cool.
That's what I would do because the chances of me being able to book work
While you're
during the
there,
week I'm there, this is
pretty
like,
slim.
yeah, I mean that's so slim.
Yeah,
But what I could do is maximize my time and get a couple hours one-on-one with some of these voiceover legends,
yeah.
and they'll just give you some scripts that they've done in the past, and we're gonna read this script, and I'm just gonna tell you, okay,
Hmm.
now do this a little bit differently, and what if you come up on that word,
Yeah.
or string that together, and they'll just teach you these little things. I've done training like that over Skype, and
Yeah, I
it's
was gonna ask, do
fantastic.
they offer that over Skype or
Yeah, they
anything?
do, they do. But that I would just like to
It'd be
like be in there.
being like in the presence of somebody, you can feel their energy.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? Especially when it's like in a field that you're in. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And you want to absorb more than just what they're saying.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's an interesting thing. I'm
And
big
make
into
those
like images.
connections. Yeah,
Yeah,
just make those
one
connections.
hundred
Just
percent.
be in the studio with the guy that records the Disney
Yeah,
cartoons. Yeah, there's something to be said for that.
yeah. That'd be really cool.
I
Um,
would love to. I would love to. But yeah, the chances of booking, saying I'm going out there for 2 weeks and I'm going to do a bunch of jobs. Good luck.
Yeah, no, good luck. Good luck. I was just thinking more so it's like, all right, well, maybe you go for a vacation for 2 weeks and
Yeah.
while you're out there, all right, let's just put my name in the hat and
Yeah.
maybe something comes
Yeah,
up.
yeah. If there was a way I could do that, I certainly would. I
Yeah.
certainly would.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be tough to start booking stuff, a couple thousand miles
It's
away.
hard enough. Yeah, it's hard enough. But yeah,
For sure, dude.
yeah. I mean, and really, if I book, if I do 100 voiceover jobs in a year, one or two of them are those ones that came from a Los Angeles agency or something.
Yeah.
The other 99 are these video production companies around town, or that I've made contacts with on my own.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing about having an agent and stuff. It's fantastic. You get a lot more at bats. You get a lot more opportunities to go for those real big jobs, those
Yeah.
cool, sexy jobs. But just because you're getting to audition, I mean, that you never get an email from them saying, "Hey, this company wants to use you." No, it's here's
Yeah.
an audition.
Yeah.
You're just getting the at bat.
Yeah. It's
you
like
know,
you have the chance to get the job at that
and
point.
you're up. I mean, and here's the crazy thing. I will occasionally see or hear a commercial, and it's like I auditioned for that, and I mean I know I didn't get it,
Yeah.
but it's like that's Matthew McConaughey,
Oh,
and it's like
yeah.
that happened. Then that
He
happens.
does a lot of voiceover
He
work,
does,
man.
he does, and there's a lot. I mean, Paul Rudd. I'm trying to think. There's a lot of just Clooney.
Yeah, Clooney does a lot of good ones. Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, it's like,
I
oh, I
mean-
auditioned for that one, and that's definitely Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah.
It's like, so I mean, you're up
I
against
mean, what are you gonna do?
exactly. That's the thing. Yeah, it's great that you're tied in with these agencies in California, but that's now who you're getting to compete against.
Yeah.
For
That's
these voiceover
that's
jobs.
the truth. Now you have to go out and like get those agents, right? Do they?
Yeah,
do
it's
they
just
take
like
everybody.
no.
Or, I don't think they do.
no. And I guess, and it's just because they just want a manageable list of people to deal with. Yeah, most agents have, the agencies have a website, and there's information on how to submit, and you just send off your stuff. Here's information about my equipment. This is the studio I have, what I can provide.
Yeah.
Here's my commercial demo. Here's my promo narration demo, whatever. Send them all your stuff, and if they have any interest at all, they'll reach out to you.
Okay.
And now I can tell you, when I was younger, trying to get going in voiceover in my early mid-20s, I was submitting to agencies all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. Got
Nope.
nothing. Just a kick in the face. It's like, okay, thought I was good.
Yeah.
And the
Bruise
truth
your
is,
ego.
yeah, and I mean, really. But looking back, the truth is, no, I wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
I wasn't good enough yet.
Yeah.
I was mediocre at best.
Mhm.
I was just like every other entry-level radio DJ in the country who was
Yep.
trying to branch out into voiceover. Jump to when I'm 30 years old, and I'm starting this process again. And I've been around a little bit longer, and I went about it in a lot smarter way. I mean, I went and started finding working voice actors online and just started listening to their demos
Yeah.
closely and find out like what are you up against, how so how good your demos
Yeah.
need to be. You need to know what ballpark
We're
you need to
taking an
be in.
honest look at yourself.
Exactly. And it's like, okay, I can pull that off, or do I need to hire in somebody to help me produce this and get this sound that I'm needing to achieve.
Yeah.
And yeah, and when I took another pass at this stuff when I was around 30, an agent here in St. Louis was the first one that said, "Hey, we'd like to chat with you. Can you come and meet with us?" And I've been working with them for the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And then since then, a couple others have ended up saying yes.
Yeah.
And really all it is for the other ones is they agree to just add you to their website.
Hmm.
So your demo is on their website.
Right.
And then when they catch wind of auditions and you fit the specs, for me, it's looking for a male that sounds between 25 and 45. Typically, it's something like that,
Yeah.
then they will just blast that out to everybody in their talent database that is in that category. And
Yeah.
there you go, guys. It's due by tomorrow at noon. If you are interested,
Yeah.
get it back to us by noon.
All right. It's like fight for it.
That's what it is, man.
Death match.
It is. It is. It is. And you never hear any of the other auditions, obviously.
Yeah.
You are never told you didn't get it. You just
Didn't hear
if you
anything.
get it, if you get it, you'll hear.
Yeah.
It may be a couple weeks later. Sometimes you forgot you even, oh, what was that one?
You're
It's
probably constantly always
like,
auditioning.
yeah,
or
exactly. You're
sending things
constantly,
off.
yeah. I probably do a dozen auditions a week.
Mhm.
And yeah, so you just kind of forget, and that's all you can do. Otherwise, you're going to be the most depressed person in the world. Because
Yeah.
if you look at it like that, it's like, man, I went 0 for 12 this week. It's like that's a lot of rejection.
Yeah.
It's like no, you just record it, send it, and boom, you're on to the next.
Yeah. It just is what it is.
You just do the best you can. Obviously, the more you put out, you're slightly bettering your chances at landing something, and
Yeah.
so it just feels good when one comes
Yeah.
through.
Well, it's all part of the process. I mean,
Yeah.
you just have to get used to the process, and unfortunately, rejection is a big part of the process.
Exactly, it is. It is. But yeah, I think it's made me better overall.
Yeah.
Just dealing with the rejection. Just yeah, I mean, then just in your my day-to-day job, stuff like that.
What's your day to day? What's your day to day?
So totally different speed from the other stuff I do is I am the marketing and development director for a Jesuit-owned and operated nonprofit.
Okay.
It's called it's a retreat center. It's called White House Retreat. It's a spiritual retreat center.
Yeah, I saw you. You posted a picture. Where are they located?
It's in South St. Louis County on an 80-acre property on the bluffs over the Mississippi River.
Yeah, it was snowing. The picture that you
Yeah.
posted. It looked beautiful.
Beautiful, beautiful. We're high up on the bluffs over the river. A lot of the property is wooded. It's kind of secluded.
Hmm.
And up to 90 people will come out there for a weekend, like a Thursday evening to Sunday afternoon. And they go through a program that's known as the Spiritual Exercises of St. Ignatius.
Okay.
It's basically what the Jesuits are kind of based upon, their core beliefs. And it's kind of like a personal development program
Yeah.
with a very Catholic spin.
Okay.
And it's condensed into what we offer is condensed into a 3-day program.
Like
So
retreat.
yep. So over the course of 3 days, you stay silent. It's a silent guided
Oh,
retreat.
nice.
So you and all these other people are silent. And over the 3 days, you go to like 10 conferences that the Jesuit leading the retreat
Yeah.
that weekend will give. Each one kind of builds upon the next one and the next one.
Yeah.
And then there's also obviously the Catholic stuff you would expect. There's Mass every
Mhm.
day. There's a chance to go to reconciliation or, kind of just one-on-one counseling with a priest if you want.
Yeah.
They do anointing of the sick. They do benediction in the evening. All the meals are provided. You get your own private, small dormitory room. And it's just a peaceful kind of break from the chaos of the world we live in today, where you
Yeah.
can just go out there and kind of get yourself right with God and kind of center yourself and get some peace and quiet. Yeah.
It's important to get away and unplug and be out in nature. It just makes you feel so much better. I've always wanted to do, well, not always, but more recently, I've been thinking about wanting to do like a silent retreat.
It's the place to do it.
Some people do them for 5, 10 days. I don't know how
Yeah.
long I'd want to do one for, but it'd be interesting to just not have to speak to anybody. I'm
Hmm.
good at not speaking.
Yeah. It's a strange thing. I had never done it. I answered an advertisement for a marketing and fundraising job.
Yeah.
That's how I ended up there. And it just so happened to work out that they decided to hire me. So they're like, okay, if this is the, obviously the business you're going to be in, we want you to
Experience
experience
it.
it.
Yeah.
So I was there, 2, 3 months, and I did it. I did the weekend thing, and it's powerful. And
Yeah.
it is very powerful. It was very cool. I was obviously, as so many people are, totally nervous about the silent aspect of it, but that made it so much better.
Yeah.
It made it so much better. And I mean, the other thing too is I was there with 85 guys I had never seen before in my life.
Hmm.
So there's no pressure to like feel like I have to sit and make small talk at every meal.
Yeah.
No, you're supposed to be silent. So
Yeah, you don't have to like say anything
no,
or keep
yeah,
anything going. You can just kind of just be around each other.
yeah. There's a small handful of places around the country that offer
Yeah.
the 3 day Ignatian spirituality retreats, and they are popular places. They're
Yeah.
popular places. We've 4,500 people a year come through
Oh, really?
White House
That's quite a few
to do
people.
silent retreats.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's about 90 a weekend, and sometimes we do 2 a week.
Wow. Yeah, I did a brief Google. I didn't look too hard, but I didn't find anything in the area. So it's good to know that
Yeah,
yeah.
45 minutes from here.
Yeah,
Or
that's
25 minutes from here. Yeah,
yeah, that's not too far away at all.
yeah,
So how did you maybe just changing gears a little
yeah.
bit, but how did you get in what's the word? How did you get involved with Shamrock doing the the commentating for that?
Yeah, so Shamrock, I've been doing stuff with for just over a year at this point. I going way back to my college days, I was getting to do some pro wrestling
Oh, yeah,
announcing,
you
where
talked about the
sometimes I would
wrestling.
I would
Yeah.
either have the headset on like we have now,
Yeah.
doing like color commentary or play-by-play type stuff,
Yeah.
or sometimes it would be as the ring announcer.
Uh-huh.
So I got to do a little bit of both,
Okay.
and I always loved it. What would tend to happen with those little organizations is they'd be around for a year, and they never made any money, and they
Hmm.
would just stop doing shows. It
Right.
just would kind of dry up. So years and years went by, and all of my mid 20s to early 30s, and I didn't do anything in that field.
Yeah.
And I became a member of JD's Gym, which some friends of mine own. It's a strongman and MMA gym
Okay.
in South County. It's over by
Yeah.
Melville High School. One of my great friends from high school, Jonathan Dalton, him and his brother and his dad, they owned it.
They started it.
They started it. So
Okay.
I joined up with that gym, and at that time they had a small handful of guys that were doing MMA training and that were fighting locally, amateur.
Uh-huh.
And I would just getting conversations about it, and it was, I think, Jonathan Dalton that was like, man, you should try to do announcing at one of these shows, because he knew was doing the podcast and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'd love to.
Were you a fan of MMA at all before then? Have you been to some
Just
shows?
to some degree. I had been to some early Shamrock shows.
Yeah.
So the real early ones,
Yeah,
like
so
the Mean Mike Green headlining shows.
Yeah, so you see a big difference.
Exactly.
It's come a
Yeah.
long way.
Stratford Inn, South Broadway Athletic Club.
Yeah.
Those were the shows that I was going to around like 2003,
Yeah.
maybe 2004.
Super early.
You're right. Yeah. So yes, I had certainly been to some and followed to some degree UFC.
Yeah.
But yeah. So he was like, yeah, we should. I'll give the guy your name and see if they have any need for an announcer or something.
Yeah.
So there was this small organization called Horizon,
Hmm.
a promotion that
Yep.
Sean Scott and Ace Anderson had going, and I don't know, they had done maybe 4 or 5 shows to that point,
Yeah, I remember.
and
Yeah.
they were
So
doing
many shows pop up and go away.
they were doing shows at this place called the American Czech Education Center in South St. Louis, and he got my name, and we had a couple of phone conversations, and he let me come and work a show as kind of the just the post-fight interviewer. I wasn't the ring announcer. He had a ring announcer.
Yeah.
But he was like, you can do, he'll announce the winner, and then you pop in and you ask the winner a few questions.
Yeah.
So I got to do that, and I had a blast. And I worked the show that night. I had emceed the weigh-ins the night before, and so that was it. Show number 1 was in the books. It was like awesome, and
Nice.
and then a week later, I see on Facebook that Horizon has been sold and
Yeah.
is no more. It's like, oh, okay, well
Well, that was short-lived.
yeah, that was great. Now I've lost my job already. So it's like, oh man. So a little bit of time went by, and the Daltons and the Scotts decided to let's kind of pick up where this one left off and start fresh.
Okay.
And they started a promotion called Iron Fighting Alliance (IFA).
I've not heard of that one.
Yeah, so they were using the same venue. The shows were run similar, same place. I think they got the cage from the same guy.
Yeah. Same
they
cage.
yeah, rebranded it.
Yeah.
New guys running it, new matchmakers, all that. And they said, you're the guy. You're going to do everything.
Okay.
You'll do ring announcing and do the little
And
post-fight
do the-
interviews
yep.
and do the weigh-ins. It's like, awesome, let's do it. So they did a few shows, and they did 2 shows, and then I got a text from Derek Scott saying, who is a Shamrock fighter and tight with those guys, I guess, and I guess he was kind of lobbying them. I think that's what I kind of.
He's like, man, you gotta check this guy out. His
I
voice
think
is amazing.
So. I think so. God love him.
He's making panties drop. And
But I think, yeah. I think, there's
Voice
no
of an
nicer
angel.
guys. There's no nicer guys than the Scott brothers and the Daltons. And I think Derek was kind of lobbying, or at least throwing my name out there. And then I remember he texted me one day and said, Jesse Finney wants you to give him a call.
Yeah.
Here's his cell number. Call him. He said, call him tomorrow after 10 o'clock or something. So Jesse and I had a couple of conversations, and he had me go and meet Rob Donaker, his matchmaker and partner, for lunch, and just kind of get the lowdown. And they had me do some demo videos.
Yeah.
I set up a tripod in my basement, put my suit on.
Oh yeah.
And
Go through the whole thing.
Yeah, I made up some cards and did some
Yeah.
couple minutes worth of fighter introductions. Sent him a tape, and it was about a week before Christmas in 2017. And he called me and he said,
Yeah.
"It's yours, man."
So just over a year now you've been doing it.
Yeah, just over a year, which has been, I guess, like 7 shows now.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was a dream come true. That was something I always, since the minute I started doing it, it was obviously the goal was to get as far locally as I could with it. And
Yeah.
they're the biggest organization.
They are the biggest locally. Do they take you to Kansas City with them too? Or
I don't.
They got
So
somebody
they
up there?
have a guy there.
Yeah, I
and,
think they have a whole crew up there that they just.
a lot
There's
of
only like a couple people that kind of go back and forth.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, if you don't have to pay to
I wouldn't either.
travel, send people traveling around.
Yeah,
why
hotels
not?
and
Exactly.
such. Just,
Yeah. So they've got a ring announcer in KC. I do here, and it's been just over a year, and it's been cool, man. I love it. I love it. I wish it was more often.
Yeah.
But I'm fine with it. I love it.
Yeah. Well, I think they do more shows here than they do in Kansas City. I think they only do actually 4 shows in Kansas City.
Is it?
I think so, because they do. They're splitting time now between Ameristar and
River
City.
Uh-huh.
And before it used to be River City and Lumiere. I think it was.
Yeah.
So I think it's like one a month. So I think they're doing
Right.
like it's like here, there, here, there,
Something
like
yeah.
that.
Yeah, there is. I think there's a few months where Kansas City gets skipped, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's been cool. Just
Yeah.
they put on a good show. They're
Yeah.
neat guys to be around.
Yeah.
They push you to
Yeah.
to
Well,
be
there's
professional and be your best.
There's one theme that I've gotten with you, my friend, and you are a likable guy, and you have a good network, because it's just, oh yeah, I knew these guys, and one opportunity came, and you're able to take advantage of that opportunity. Like, you're always prepared, right? You put in the reps to be good at what you're trying to do, and you made the right connections along the way. So
Yeah.
I think this is a lesson to be learned for anybody who would like to follow the same path, or whether it's in voiceover work
Mm-hmm.
or it's any just endeavor of where you're trying to provide for yourself.
That's the thing.
think it's
Just
an
be
important
ready. Yeah. If there's something you want to try and do, you got to be ready when the knock on the door comes to
Right.
to jump on it.
You have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've missed opportunities in fighting because I was like,
Really?
yeah. Well, one time Jesse called me. for they needed like a last minute
Hmm.
replacement on like 10 days notice for Bellator. It was at 170. I was 200 pounds. I'm like,
Mm,
I'm not in
that's
shape. I
yeah.
mean, that's classic though with fighter, right? You know, you always got to be in shape. You always got to be ready to fight. Or one time he called me and it was for Bellator again. I didn't have my passport though. And it was weird though. Like I
You
was,
would have had to leave the country?
yeah, it was in Tel
Really?
Aviv, Israel.
Oh my gosh.
And it was ironic because I actually just applied for my passport like a couple days before,
Uh,
so I didn't have it in hand yet, and they wanted you to have it in
yeah.
hand to like sign the contract. I mean, I would have gotten it. Actually, I did get it before the fight, but still.
It's crazy. I mean, and I mean,
And
you
that's
can attest to this. There's hundreds of guys around the country that are getting that same call
all the
every
time.
single week.
Yeah,
Can
dude.
you
Hey, dude,
can
we
you
need
get
you.
to 150 pounds by Friday? And do you have
Yeah.
a passport? You know, that kind of thing. You just got to be.
So it's if it so in any scenario for me, knowing that oh well, I do want to fight, you know, at the high level, and
Hmm.
some of that's going to be traveling around the world. Probably should have got that passport sooner. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? So it's just taking those steps and being proactive and putting yourself in the right position.
When you were, let me ask you a couple of questions. When you first went to fight Bellator,
Yeah.
how much different was that experience than fighting pro with Shamrock or
Yeah.
a comparable organization? How much different was that jump?
Yeah, so it's a bigger scale, right? Because it there's a larger like arena and there's just more logistics.
Hmm.
But for me, there wasn't I didn't really treat it much differently. Other than so the big difference is just it's all external, right? I mean, there's just more input like so it's a nicer locker room and you're in the big
Yeah,
arena and there's more people.
it's
But
still just you and one guy in a cage.
that's really all it is. And honestly, for me, the bigger the arena, like the higher the ceiling, the more people. Like whenever I fought, it wasn't like filled up by any means. Like we're the undercard, but like for me, that big thing, it's more comfortable for me. Like whenever I start fighting in even like at Ameristar in the Kansas City, and it's that smaller, more intimate
Hmm.
room, and like now you can really start hearing these assholes right up on the cage,
Right?
like yelling at you and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I don't like that. So for me, it felt more comfortable to take that bigger step and to be in that
It kind
stage.
of takes the crowd out of it for you.
For me,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just much
You
easier
can't
to
make
just
out their words.
yeah, you can just focus in on what's happening right now. So and I can even I imagine it even if it were a fully like sold out arena and like it
Mhm.
was super loud and shit, I think I would just like that better. So I liked the bigness when it came to like fighting on that show. It was super cool. But production for production, I mean, it's almost I mean it's the
They're doing the same stuff.
same
Yeah.
they're doing the same thing. It's just what scale. That's the only difference for me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you're done with fighting, you say?
I am.
You think
I am.
you think you're gonna stick with that? Honestly?
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Well, it's been it'll be 2 years in May. So like it's already been a couple years.
Now, over how much of that 2 years have has it been you saying, "No, I don't want fights"? I mean, was there a chunk of that time where you were looking for fights and they just weren't coming?
No, I've not yeah, I haven't looked for fights at all. So probably about I don't know, a year, maybe a year and a half in, like Rob Donaker actually texted me and asked me if I wanted to fight. He's actually I think he's texted me a couple times and asked me
Hmm.
if I wanted to fight on two different occasions, and both times I'm just like, no, I don't want to. I started worrying about my brain immensely.
Okay,
So
that's
like
what that was going to be my next question. Like,
yeah,
what
yeah,
led
I
to
don't.
this?
So I don't. There's a number of reasons why, but yeah, I started worrying about my brain a lot. So I don't like TBI and CTE. Like they really they just fucked my head up. Like I don't want to be that fighter
Hmm.
who just can't like I already have like a hard time sometimes like recalling words. So I'm like,
Really,
man,
a lot of
well,
concussions.
I haven't had a lot of concussions, but I'm sure well maybe because I mean I started playing football at seventh grade, so I
Hmm.
mean that's full contact
Hmm.
for like 6 years through there,
Okay.
and then I mean I fought for almost a decade.
How many times were you knocked out?
Never knocked out.
Okay.
A couple. I've had my bell rung a couple times in practice. One flash knockout in practice. So like I got hit, dropped to a knee, and came right back up. Never been knocked out though.
Okay.
So pretty fortunate in that sense. Definitely eaten enough shots. So I've learned a lot about the brain. It actually stemmed from my daughter. She was diagnosed on the autism spectrum. She's not very severe. I actually question that diagnosis because I
Really.
feel like it's one of those things that it's such a broad spectrum. I feel like physicians and clinicians and stuff are just they just label this this vast group of people as like autistic, and some of them might not be autistic. Maybe she is. I don't know. But either way, that sent me down this path of like researching on different things that like help the brain and
Yeah.
whatnot. Like when we grew up, it was always thought, you know, you lose your brain cells, it's gone forever. They're dead. You know what I mean? But science has shown now that there are different things that you can take, and there's a lot of different things that you can do to help grow brain cells, brand new brain cells, neurogenesis. So this is a real thing that happens. So for me, I I I started down that path kind of with her, and then I started, learning more about the brain, and I started becoming worried about my brain with fighting and different things. And I'm just like, man, like this is just not the sport for me. I lost the drive. It became less important to win. I don't feel like I really have anything to prove.
Hmm.
There's whether people want to admit it or not, like they compete because you want to prove something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether it's to yourself, but it's usually there's some external people you want to prove it to.
Yeah.
I just don't have that
I got to
need
prove my worth to
in
these
some
people.
way or
And
another.
the way I'm
Yeah.
going to do that is
Yeah.
by making it to the Bellator cage.
Yeah, and yeah, there's definitely a part of that. I've been like a lifelong athlete, so the idea of like making my living doing athletics was always like that's the pinnacle, like that's the dream. Like I wanted to be in the NFL. I'm not big enough for that. Like that just wasn't my path. But I wrestled, and it was a very natural transition. I was always better at wrestling anyway. It was a very natural transition to get into
Sure.
fighting. So I was always like chasing that. We want to get that big contract with either UFC or Bellator, get those checks. You know what I mean? Like the idea of making $30,000 in one night from fighting. Like 15,000 for showing, 15 for winning or something. Like that just drove me for so long. But that will only take you so far. Like the money I'm just like, man, the money's not even worth it.
Yeah. When you got the call up to Bellator, were they big ones like that or no?
Two of them were.
Okay.
So I fought on Bellator, and that was just an undercard. And
Okay.
that's like they were coming to St. Louis, so what they do is they match a whole bunch of locals.
Right.
So I did that. Now the two other ones were like one was in Connecticut against a guy by the name of Brandon Ward, who is just a savage, and
And you were main card or
yeah,
on TV at least.
he was I think it was like co-main.
Okay.
He was a big name.
Okay.
Like he won, I think he won the tournament when they were still doing the tournament at 85, and he fought for the belt, lost, and then
Okay.
dropped to 70. He was doing pretty good at 70.
Okay.
So that was a situation where they needed somebody last minute.
Okay.
Somebody got hurt or whatever the case was. 10 days notice they needed somebody. The guy they ended up getting was a complete like turd. like an old guy, had a terrible record, probably like 30 fights, and like half of them were all losses. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was just either you're ready or you're not.
Yeah.
But he's the type of guy that a lot of people don't want to take a short notice fight with him. I would have if I would have been in shape, I would have taken the fight. I didn't care. And then obviously like the Tel Aviv one, that would have been pretty big. I think that would have actually probably came with like 3 or 4 fight contract.
Really.
Yeah, because Joaquin Buckley also fought on that card, and I think they were offering us the same contract. I think Jesse said.
3 or 4 fights.
Yeah, 3 or 4
Interesting.
fights with Bellator for that one. Yeah.
It's wild, man. I mean,
It happens, man. It's just one of those things that probably just wasn't in the cards. I mean, I competed for almost a decade, off and on at different times, just with family and life. I had kids I had my son at 20 and my daughter at 22, so real young with having kids. So, I mean, when you're just trying to take care of business, sometimes you got to put the dreams on hold.
yeah, man. Well, I mean, it seems like you found some pretty cool outlets here.
Yeah, man, the podcast is going well. I get to connect with awesome people like yourself, and
Appreciate
and just keep exploring other ways to make it in life. There's a lot of ways to compete, I found, and there's a lot of ways to win, and it doesn't have to be like athletically, like in the cage. So I just try to put everything towards just building the life that I want to build.
Look at you.
Yeah, man.
You're such a calm presence. I told Jesse that I saw you because for everybody listening, Adam's doing some work with Shamrock now.
Yeah, they hired me to do a little bit of PR.
He's
so.
doing so fight night. You're doing video work. You're
Right.
running around with your gimbal and
Yeah.
shooting some video and stuff. And I guess it was between rounds you would occasionally, as the fighters were in their corners with their coaches, you would pop into the cage and you're just kind of floating with the camera and stuff. And I was telling him, I said, he's just there's just a calmness and a zen quality about him. And he just kind of smiled and nodded. He's like, he's pretty awesome. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, man. I think you've got some cool stuff going here.
I appreciate
it's exciting
it, brother.
to see.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you doing this. I think we're
Sure.
about hour and a half in. I would
Oh my God.
yeah, I want to be respectful of your time. I don't
No
want to hold you
problem.
up too long. Floor is yours, man. Anything you want to plug, promo? Tell them about the podcast. I know we've talked about it
Yeah.
already, but podcast, anything you have coming up, whatever you'd like, man. Socials, it's up to you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm on Facebook, Instagram. You can find me the two podcasts I do the pop culture one where I kind of do the deep dives on movies, television shows, that kind of stuff is called The Odd Podcast with Joe Parisi. It's on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play. And then the newer one that I just launched right around the holidays in 2018 is America's Pop Culture Trivia Show. That is the game show that's on same ones, Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, everything. So yeah, those are my the two podcasts. My voiceover website, joeparisivoiceover.com, and that's about it, man. Just gonna yeah, just gonna leave it at that. Gotta give a shout out to my beautiful wife Christine, who I'm sure will listen to this and cringe through a lot of it, and my son Reese. Yeah, that's it, man.
Excellent, excellent. And I'll put this in the show notes too.
Cool.
So, all right, Joe. Thanks again, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate it.